The transformers have come back from rewind repair. So let's get these things open and have a look, shall we? So big shout out to Luke at Transformer Equipment for doing the job. He always does a good job. So let's have a look, shall we? Okay, so mains transformer rewind to 240 volt, and output transformer rewind to spec. And I sent him the specs, so he knows exactly what they should be. So we'll start with the output transformer. Let me just get the data sheets that we wanted. Here we go. So do you remember this data sheet was the one that the customer provided for me, which is actually for a slightly different unit. Ours is the E6113. But as you remember, this data sheet was for an 8-ohm secondary, whereas what we need is a 4-ohm. Someone else confirmed to me, very nice chap on the internet, confirmed that the spec is the same, the primary impedance is the same at 5k, but obviously we need a 4-ohm output. And so the units had a rewind. Very nice indeed. E6113. And I love it when they manage to keep that vintage look and feel. So I'll be able to test these just to double check everything. But you see we've got our primary side here. Red will be center tap, brown and blue either side. And then black will be common, green will be 4 ohms. But there we go. So that's that one. Very nice indeed. And someone in the comments questioned whether if the original unit was 120 volt, this is the power transformer, whether there would be enough space in the windings for a 240 volt winding. Well, yes, there is. Quite simply, yes, there is. So there we go. So we're going to have high voltage that will be red, and one of them, yellow stripes, and that'll be center tap. You've got brown and blue, which will be our primary, UK primary colours. We've got 5 volt yellows, and then we've got our 6 volt winding, which also is center tap. So there you go. So that's all come through. Nicely done. I'll be, as I said, I will be testing both of these units just to confirm, even though Luke would have done that anyway. But fantastic job. So now these will be able to go back into the chassis. Oh, excuse me. So here's the chassis. Now, so I can get these remounted and start to wire them in. But obviously we've got some other bits and pieces to service in here first and sort out, mainly a cap replacement. Now, the can capacitor is an odd size. It's a 3-section cap, 20, 10, 10 at 450, which difficult size to get now. But I found a place in America, a place that sells odd value caps and bits and pieces for ham radio, radiogram, rebuilders and restorers. So, and they've got one of these available. So I've got one of those coming from over the pond. And then we've also got this 20 microfarad here, the cathode bypass cap in the output stage, and we're going to need to measure all the bits, give this thing a clean up, get all of these bits mounted back on exactly where they belong. And if you remember, I took loads of photos so we know where everything goes. And we can carry on with our restoration. So once this chassis is completed, then I can start working on the top side. But the power section is always your first port of call. So yeah, we'll get that done. The speakers have also come back from reconing. They're currently in boxes, so I will get those out and show those to you at some point. But they're all done. Managed to do some lovely, what am I trying to say? Smooth cones, 1.5 inch voice coil, which is what the customer wanted. So yeah, all good. Making good progress on these, so I can finally crack on with the restoration of this Gretsch. Right, the can capacitor, as you can see on the Gretsch power chassis, is 201010, which is an odd value. So it's 3 capacitors in one can. It is an odd value, and I really didn't want to move to adding more tag strips inside the chassis. I wanted to try and find, ideally, a replacement cap that will plug right in. But as they are relatively odd values, there's nothing in the guitar world which was suitable. So thankfully, I found a company in Cedar Rapids in America who make capacitors to order, or capacitor assemblies to order. They're called Hayseed Hamfest. Fantastic website. So if you need parts for tube radios, TVs, all that kind of stuff, they seem to do all the more quirky, weird stuff. So I managed to get one. Well, I ordered one, and it has just turned up. So let's unbox the packet, and we'll have a look at what we get. Okay, so that's just my shipping notification. Let's have a look then. Okay, so when I ordered it, I did get a choice of whether I wanted the mounting spacer as well. Very cool. So I've ordered one. 201010 at 450 volt. Oh wow, look at that. That's fantastic. Let's zoom you in. That's brilliant. Look at the quality of that. God, there are a lot of amp companies that could learn a lot from this guy. Whoever you are, Mr. Hayseed, you have my approval already. And so we've got a Phalonic spacer. That just needs spacing out slightly. Opening up. There you go. Look at that. That is fantastic. And he's handmade that. He's made that just for me to order. And that is going to sit on this rusty old chassis. If I give you a view like that, it's going to be slightly shorter than the old one, as you can see. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Big fan of that. Right, so we're going to replace that capacitor. And I've got an F&T for inside, and we also need to do the cathode bypass cap for the output valves as well. Excellent. I am impressed. Okay, so the chassis is nearly done. The only thing that's missing is the second stage dropper, the screen dropper, which in the amp is a 1K. Now this is a 7-watt resistor. Now, incredibly, I haven't got any on the shelf. I've got 5Ks, but I'm out of my 10K, 7Ks and 10Ks. I don't know why. So I've got one of those on order, but that's fine. I mean, I can still do the rest of the tests that I need to. So what I've done is I've hooked up UK voltage to the chassis. I've got the rectifier valve in. I've got the 2 output valves in, and I'll be able to take all my AC and DC measurements throughout, at least where possible. Without that, I'm not getting any screen voltage. So I'm not also getting any screen current, but at least I know everything's working fine. There are no shorts inside the chassis, which is the main thing. I haven't made a mistake with any of the wiring. So I've got my 5-volt heaters are okay. My high voltage is okay. My 6.3 volt heaters are okay. My mains wiring is okay, etc., etc. So I'll show you on the first stage, the reservoir cap. Bear in mind, we've got no screen current and we're in restriction mode. We've got 434 volts at that point. In that point there, so it comes off the rectifier valve, that's your filter, and it comes along here. This is your output transformer center tap. So that's your voltage there. Up to your output transformer through the windings and back down to the anode. So the blue side measures 435. Bear in mind, we're not really passing any current at the moment, but we've got voltage on the brown side as well. Yes, we have. And the cathode, we're not, as I said, because we haven't got any screen voltage, we're not really flowing any current, but we're getting voltage where we want to, which is a good sign. So when that resistor comes in, I can install that, do these checks again, just to double check. But yeah, the power chassis is pretty much done now. You'll notice I had to replace some of the other wires as well. They're a bit crusty and toasty. There was that yellow wire that was this one here. And one end of it sat underneath the old cathode resistor, which, as you can see, the insulation nice and toasty. So I swapped that out. The original cathode resistor value was 200 ohms. I've upped that to 220 just to try and keep it on the safe side until I can do any further measurements and tests. Replace the cathode capacitor as well. So yeah, all good so far. Really happy. That's the end of part 3. Next step will be working on the main chassis. So look forward to that. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you at the next one.